Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Morning Shot. Byron, if you remember, about 2 years ago, 70 pensioners offered their assistance to Eskom. These were, well, white pensioners. They were engineers, nuclear experts, and all the rest of it. And back in 2020, Eskom said that unfortunately they were unable to accept the offers of this free work. I must state that it was free. These pensioners offered the work for free. But Eskom said they weren't able to accept the offers for free work from these pensioners because at the time they had to consider transformation, liability, and accountability in navigating the offers from these retirees. We know they talk about accountability and liability, but they actually mean transformation. The problem fundamentally for Eskom was these people were white and therefore they don't meet the transformation quota for Eskom, despite the fact, and I must reiterate this, they offered to work for free.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, so this kind of is a follow-on story from Return of the Whiteys. If you haven't watched that video, great video. Actually got a good number of views on it. But this is the story that Eskom was told to go out and employ anybody that actually had skills and the original architects of Eskom in order to fix it. But there is the story that Ramon is drawing reference to, and there's a few bits to quote out of the story. So originally, these employees basically said that they were only there, they would come back to Eskom to basically transfer their skills because Eskom's board claimed that they basically didn't, they had skills challenges. So the COO, Jan, everybody's name's Jan in South Africa, isn't it? Said it's not a case of lack of talent or capacity, but a lack of training in how to handle the many crises occurring at their power stations. So obviously, it was with this in mind that a load of retired engineers came forward and said, "Look, we'll fix the place for free." So Eskom, and I quote, said it would consider CVs individually and welcome those who have specialist skills to help without compensation. Said anything else, whatever race, gender, who has a skill and willing to do the same can approach and will be considered, Eskom spokesperson said. But as
Yep.
the article very rightly says, nothing came from it. Now you can read the rest of the trash that goes in it or the kerfuffle. But the only real kind of point to realize, as it says, cutting skilled whites employees was needed to comply with the strict provisions in South Africa's Equity Act. The Department of Labor required Eskom to set quotas so the demographics of its workforce would more closely match those of the country at large.
Mm.
Eskom had to submit a plan to reach those targets by 2020.
And believe it or
And
not, I
obviously,
think I think this is the only plan that Eskom actually reached in 2020 because 2020 was, I think, the greatest load shedding year until this year, if
this
I'm
year,
not
yeah,
mistaken. So who says the government doesn't follow through on what it wants? It does, it kicks out YTs
exactly.
extremely effectively. So we shouldn't think that the government
Mm.
is ineffective. They're extremely effective at discarding people with talent from the state-owned enterprises.
Now, what's ironic, Ramon, and I know you've got some comments to say on this next, is that apparently the article said that according to Solidarity, Eskom's recruitment policy, promotion policy, labor equity quotas, and procurement policies made the environment at the power utility impossible for white engineers and artisans to get promotions or excel in their careers, which is why all of them said, sod this, and we're leaving the country.
Yep.
So I think that's ironic because I think you told me before we came and we recorded this that apparently Eskom's now approaching Solidarity again for help.
Not just Eskom, my friend. The Minister of Public and whatever he's called, Pravin Gordhan, the worst commie in the world, he himself has written a letter directly to Solidarity looking for help from Solidarity so that they can help fix Eskom together. So basically, it's like, oh, reality. Welcome to the consequences of previous policy or current policy, if we're really honest. So basically, the letter, which has been leaked, was sent to Solidarity's chief executive, Dirk Herman. And basically, Gordon says they are looking for power station engineers, senior artisans, and plant operators for nuclear and coal. The very same artisans and engineers and plant operators that they got rid of 3 years ago because of their equity plan. Have you noticed? So now they're looking back for them. And instead of
Mm.
hiring them themselves, they're going to Solidarity, who happens to be the trade union for these very skilled workers. And
Mm.
therefore, Gordon, just imagine, Byron, being a hardcore commie racial nationalist like Pravin Gordhan, kicking out all the whiteys, and then groveling 2 years later, groveling back to Solidarity to say, please come help us fix the problem we made by kicking you out. it's it's
So
it's actually it's an unbelievable story, and it shows how much of a bind the ANC is actually in.
So let's before we get accusations of you racist. Like, no, this isn't actually about kicking out the whiteys. Like, yeah, okay, we laugh about it because it's funny. Because when they kick him out, that's how they frame him. They say, let's kick out the whiteys because we need to have equity quotas. We don't look at it like that. We go, hey, mate, you're kicking out the skill and getting unskilled labor to do the work of skilled labor where skill is required. So we look at it on the basis of meritocracy. We look at it on the basis of merit. They look at it on the basis of equity or racial profiling. So we're not the racists in this, but it's funny
Yep.
that they're coming back to the people that had the merits and going, we made the wrong decision. Now, why this article is important and why you should even pay attention to it isn't just Eskom's a bunch of, what does our reporter Nelson call them? Just remind me. I think you still have the recording.
Let me
What's he
just
say?
let me just get him on the line. Nelson, are you there? Eskom are a bunch of what?
Boost.
Yeah, they're very good.
Thanks, Nelson. That's really helpful. Anyway, the whole point is that you must say that this is an Eskom issue, but let's not forget that later this year, the president has until the end of this year or start of next year, I forget which, just changes his mind anyway. But he's got to put the new Employment Equity Quota Act that's going to all be coming in place, which the commie bastard that runs the labor ministry or whatever kind of communist ministry bullcrap he runs has already said with glee how happy he is that he's going to be able to force quotas on all private industries. And he looks to be salivating from the mouth. And he's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to ruining more private industries with my quota plans. So we can see what those quota plans have done in terms of meritocracy to Eskom. And now Eskom's having to look back going, oh, well, our racial profiling didn't work out. We need to get the skill back. And it's like, don't think that this is a turning point for the commies. The commies aren't changing their mind. They just
No.
realize that, as we've said in previous videos, Eskom is now a benchmark for ANC failure. If Eskom fails, the ANC is deemed to have failed. They are now looking for ways to make sure it doesn't fail. Does that mean they don't want the rest of the country to fail? Like, fuck, it does. Like, they want all the private businesses to fall over in a heap and die.
Yeah.
And if you want proof of that, look at the president's speech at the Communist Party's 15th anniversary bullshit, whatever they had. And he said there very clearly in black and white, Cyril Ramaphosa, New Dawn, the great reformer, the capitalist himself said, we want to be more extreme in the next progression of transformation of this country, and we want to accelerate the move of the ownership in this country from the minority, we all know who the minority is, to the majority, we all know who they are. And he said, what we need is we need an accelerated plan to push forward into the second phase of the NDR. Do not think that this shows that the president has changed their colors. They have not. It just so happens that they are just changing their tune for this one issue because they don't want to be seen as a failure.
And here's the issue. Transformation is less important than Eskom failure. They're willing to take away their principles solely for Eskom because it is such an embarrassment to them. But
Correct.
It doesn't mean that there is reform nationally. It doesn't mean anything.
Correct.
All they want to do is to manage the decline better by bringing in these skills. So if I was Solidarity, and I know I'm not, they're brilliant, but they're not as trolly as I am, I would decline. I would say, no, sorry guys, these engineers that you want back, they're all employed somewhere else. They're in Dubai or Australia or Canada, whatever the case might be. They're making lots of money over there. So sorry, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, we can't help you to save Eskom because you killed it by sending these people away in the first place based on your racial quota nonsense. So I would do that if I was Solidarity, but I'm not Solidarity. Solidarity are much better people than I am, and I think they really do want to help save Eskom. Whereas me, I'm like, let it crumble even further. And that's when you'll get actual change in this country.
And for those of you who then want to go on your frog march and go, oh, look at Ramon, you don't care about the poor, you just want to kill Eskom. No, Ramon doesn't want to kill Eskom, and he does care about the poor, and he doesn't want people to be disadvantaged. But we both recognize that, as we have said a number of times, Eskom, if it fails, the ANC fails. It is a symbol of ANC failure. We all agree unanimously the only way for South Africa to thrive is for the ANC to die. Everybody says that. We all know it. So let's just accelerate the ANC's death. That's all
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, I don't love the poor. The ANC loves the poor. That's what created so many of them, right? Unemployment rate in 94 was 20%. Now it's close to 45, 50%. Any metric, economic, social, psychological, spiritual, has declined under the ANC. If you want to help the poor, if you want to help the abused, if you want to help victims, you get rid of the ANC. And the best way to do that right now is through Eskom, right? So, yeah, that's the story. Welcome to the reality of ANC rule, where they'll destroy everything. And when they have finally decolonized everything, they seek help to make sure the decolonization does not take effect so quickly as it has done at Eskom. And by the way, Andre de Ruyter, I'm thinking more and more, he was set up to fail. Remember, he has two things: prevent the decline of Eskom and still carry on with BE entrepreneurs and all of that. And he's doing a really good job in all of those things. But I think by the time he goes, and I think it might be sooner than we think, the ANC is going to stand up and say, look, you see, we hired the white guy and he still failed. So don't come here with your racial superiority. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen at Eskom when De Ruyter decides to step aside, because it's just not worth it for him now.
No, and to be honest, De Ruyter, if you ever see our message for whatever reason, look, I think we both take our hat off to you, man. Like, I would not want to do your job for what you get paid. Like, as a business owner myself, Ramon's a business owner. Like, I don't know how you do it, man. Like, you're a hero to everybody. Getting up every day and having to put up with that shit for the amount of money you get paid, nah. It's far easier grifts, my friend. Far easier grifts. So well done to you.
Absolutely. So there you go. That's really the story. Welcome to the consequences of my actions. Let's see how this goes. But I think, Byron, to be really honest, it's far too late. Eskom is in the death spiral. There's no real hope of changing it. There's no real hope of saving it. This is like almost a last gasp effort to try to save it. But I don't see any material improvement.
I got a really good idea. But we already covered this. The ANC already knows how to fix this, mate. Creates another Eskom. What could go wrong?
I actually had a good video on how to solve this through modular reactors from Russia.
I know.
Perfect solution to it. But ANZ's done. We support Russia and get nothing in return.
Anyway. I know. Putin fanboys and everything. Like Putin stooges. What else do we get called? I don't know.
Yeah.
And even then, when we follow in the damn commies, they still just ignore us. Like, honestly, can't win with these people, can you?
What do you mean, these people, Byron? No, I'm joking. Don't answer that. Anyway,
these people means the communist bastards.
The communist bastards. And we don't discriminate. Every commie, the only good commie is a dead one, irrespective of race. Amandla. Thank you for watching, everyone. We will see you soon. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.